Okay. Let's not forget to approve minutes. Cheryl.
I'll talk.
Yeah, you got it.
Don't forget to sign in everybody.
Is this your alternate fit? No, this is just your real lights?
No, Albany fit has to be a suit.
Oh,
Which is why I'm very glad I'm down here and not up there.
Yeah, I see. Then 10 years from now, you can dress like me, you get out of politics. You just wear sweatpants all day.
I don't think I'll ever be on the phone.
No, you will, trust me.
I don't know.
No,
We'll see.
you do reg affairs.
That is where the money is. It's not where the fun is.
Well, where the fun is. Where the fun in the left sessions. Yeah, I don't find the chairs left.
Hi. Actually,
You're sitting there?
but there's more chairs.
Oh, there's more chairs over there. There we go.
Yeah, she's printing more out now.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Community Board 9 ULURP Land Use Committee meeting for March. Welcome, everyone. We have a full house tonight, so I'm just going to say as far as the rules of order, please wait until you're recognized by the chair. Please limit your questions or comments to about 2 minutes each, and please respect the guests. We'll just briefly introduce ourselves. My name is Suki Cheong. I'm the chair. I've lived in Community Board 9 area in Prospect Leopards Gardens for about 15 years now. And should I start to my left and then go around?
Becca Robertson, community resident.
Janice Brown, community resident.
Nicola Cox, community resident.
Teresa Westfield, board member, resident.
Max Davidson, my board member.
Amy Lynn, community resident.
Cheryl Bernard, community board member. Community member.
Patty Rosenberger, community board member.
And we have a couple of members who are not here yet, they might come in. So tonight we have the first thing on the agenda is a presentation by the developers and new owners of the site at 1550 Bedford, which is up at the corner of Eastern Parkway and between Eastern Parkway and Union Street and Bedford Avenue. Some of you may know it. It was slated to be a hotel. It's vacant for a while. So I'm just gonna, let's do a minute approval.
Can we do,
first.
yeah, can we put the minutes first?
No, we're gonna do it afterwards because they need, we guests here.
Thank you.
So if you wanna take it away,
How much time?
15 minutes for the presentation, and then we're gonna try to give 45 minutes for Q&A.
Okay.
start Q&A with the committee members. But if members of the public wanna sign up to speak, that would be helpful.
Just under active.
Okay.
I'm just going to ask Ron.
So funny, I've never seen.
You want us to come in a certain spot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was people.
Yes, we're live.
Full screen. Scroll out. Just so short. What's up? Yeah, it's an accident. I don't know Barbara wasn't. So I asked for, like, on the time to get the razor. I was tired of this today.
And then all my.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I think y'all can have over here.
Over here?
I don't know.
Yeah,
If
that's
it's all
what I
this
like
stuff.
to.
It's not even off. This might be it.
If you wanna,
Like minoxidil.
Well, the important thing is that whoever's talking.
Thank you.
and just to introduce two additional committee members who just came in, Esteban Barone, who's one of our community resident members, and Joshua Thomas, who's okay, so everybody's here, we have full house.
Okay, so you might have to go with me.
I'll stand your pen and I'll get out of the way.
Yeah, but others.
I can do it.
Oh,
Thank you. Cheryl. Right there.
How are you?
Okay, so,
Are you the new member? Can you
gentlemen,
introduce the new members first?
oh, Cheryl, I didn't get to introduce, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce Cheryl, she's one of our new community resident members.
Welcome, Sharon. Thank you.
Hi, Cheryl.
It's Cheryl Seeley, that's Cheryl Bernard. And Amy
Yes.
Lynn, she introduced herself.
Amy, I need one.
Yes, I know.
So gentlemen, if you could take it away. And I know you've been asked if you can, discuss in your presentation how your proposal is aligned with our zoning principles. That'd be great.
Sure, thank you. And,
Going to begin.
thanks for everyone for having us. My name is Nick Williams. I'm with Freed Frank, the Land Use Council to Avery Hall in connection with the project. We're very excited about this proposal, which would bring a significant amount of new housing, including affordable housing, to this long neglected corner. Just a brief note about where we are in the application process. We're in the draft application process with city planning. We're also working through an environmental review. We will be back again for the formal ULURP review later on this year. So this is a preliminary briefing. I'm joined by Brian Ezra and Jesse Orr from Avery Hall. I'll turn it over to them to walk you through the proposal.
Thanks, Nick. Yes, sir. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us this evening. My name is Brian Ezra. I'm co-founder of Avery Hall Investments. We're louder. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Brian Ezra. Thank you for having us here this evening. I'm a co-founder of Avery Hall Investments. We're a real estate housing developer based in Brooklyn. Jesse started the company with me 13 years ago, and we're both Brooklyn residents, and we're based here and actively developing housing in and around the area. Being residents and developers here, it's kind of a head-scratching situation where going up and down Eastern Parkway, for years we had passed a property that seemed kind of stalled, and we didn't really know too much about it or understand why. And then as the years went on, we certainly took more note of it. But we'll tell you more about us and the history of the project. But we acquired the property at 1550 Bedford in September of this past year. And it had gone through a long history of a foreclosure process and then a bankruptcy. And before that, there was a project slated to be developed as a hotel, and the developer had acquired it, pulled permits, started construction, excavation, everything was going, and then we don't know all of the details. It's not our project, it's not, those details are not too critical to us, other than what we saw is that a project had froze, and then it was stuck. And it stayed like that for years, and it kind of looked like an abandoned project, which didn't make sense to us in such a location. And so it came across our desk in the spring of 2025 as a bankruptcy and a foreclosure. And it was pretty hairy. We couldn't access the property, and it looked unsafe, and we didn't understand why it was stalled and why everything that happened with it. But we saw an opportunity, and being housing developers, we thought that we saw the ingredients that this really made sense to us as a great opportunity for housing. So maybe that's a good start, and we could
Yeah, I
start
think-
going through the presentation.
I think, thanks again for having us. I think the primary reason that we are here is the site currently, and we'll go through it, but the site currently does not allow for residential. So we are looking to rezone to residential. Let's see if this works. I don't know how to- Red arrows? Okay. So I'll stand over here. This is some of our other housing. We are primarily a housing developer. These are some of our other projects that we have done in Brooklyn. All of these are mixed income housing projects of scale. We are very good at building housing, designing housing, and getting it financed and built. And so these are all examples of projects that are currently built and either fully leased up or are being leased up currently.
We'll go through these, kind of on the more quickly side. You guys obviously in the community know the site and the context, but just to give it framing, because this is the same presentation that would go with city planning.
Yeah, and this is also just from our own research. We look at the site, we look at transportation, we look at the area locally, just to determine a host of things. But this is our site at, right at this corner of Eastern Parkway and Bedford, so the southwest corner there. And the first thing we typically do when we're looking is looking at transit. This site, very transit rich, 2, 3, 4, 5, as well as many bus lines, express bus lines, city bike, and even just Eastern Parkway for pedestrian transit. As well as looking at the open space around and sort of all of the access that a residential project benefits from, and all of those residents benefit from. And these are all, for us, reinforce the viability and the need for residential in this location. And then this is, in terms of Eastern Parkway, this is looking at our site. We're here. This is along this pedestrian promenade on Eastern Parkway, looking at our site, looking east, and then this is looking west on our site, towards that site.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of, weigh in here. Part of what we're looking at is, as in essentially every other residential development that we've been developing in Brooklyn, usually on the ground floor, there's usually an opportunity to build commercial spaces, and there's a lot of reasons why sometimes residential doesn't make the most sense and commercial spaces do. And we're a big believer in building ground floor commercial spaces that will get used, that have real use in the neighborhood, and we like these kinds of neighborhood amenities. It makes sense for the project. It also makes sense in the neighborhoods. Often it could be different services, but we look around after we're looking at transit, after we're looking at open space, we're then looking at, well, where are the grocery stores or pharmacy or cafe or bank and or other just kind of similar daily needs uses? And that, is there an opportunity? And there is so much residential population here, and Bedford Avenue, between Medgar Evers and everything that's going on north, gets a lot of traffic, particular and foot traffic, but, you know, in our view, we still think that there's a lot of ability if we were to add new, high-quality commercial space on the ground floor for these kinds of daily needs. We think that there'd still be demand, and so we think that makes sense for us, for the project, and we're also contemplating including ground floor retail and looking at the landscape for these kinds of uses. The cultural
This is-
access speaks for itself, I guess.
Yeah, cultural access speaks for itself, but, you know, just reinforcing some of the resources and access that are available from this site. Short distance, short walks, farmers markets, museums, educational access as well. And then also, you know, as we're looking at this site and we're looking at some of the context and thinking about the density that it takes to make a viable project in this location, we start to look at all of this context, looking at the height of neighboring buildings and how we're going to fit into that setting. As well as looking at Eastern Parkway and looking at our neighbors and looking at all of the other components. But, you know, especially in these corner locations where you have very wide street and some of these large intersections, you know, this is another point of data for us. This is a little bit, Brian went over it briefly.
Yeah. But before that, the prior owner of the site had acquired it, it was operated as a gas and convenience station for a long time. And then it was operated as a gas station for a very, very long time. And that prior developer purchased it directly from the gas station owner. And then under their plans and approvals, which were overseen by New York City, they cleaned up the site of any past contamination and proceeded with their hotel plans, and then we picked up the story, which you know the rest of it. That is part of the background of the site.
And here's the site today, which is, I think, you know, we've met with a few folks previously, and there is a unifying theme that everyone is looking for something to happen here. Nobody wants, it's been 6.5 years of this fence, no real sidewalk, trash building up on site, unsafe conditions on the interior. And so I think all of that is what we are trying to address, along with bringing the benefits of housing, affordable housing. And this is similar, this is down at Union and Bedford, looking back towards Eastern Parkway. This was when we first acquired the site. So what's exists on the site is a very deep foundation. They essentially walked away. They were working on site, then they were done. They left everything there. They left huge holes with 20-foot drops down, uncovered. They left all of this rebar. It was a very derelict, unsafe site. So the day after we acquired, we put in motion safing off the site. We covered it, all of these holes. We covered everything. We covered the rebar. It still is a foundation that is a hole in the ground. We still need to do something to push it forward. But it is today as safe as it can be until somebody builds an additional, somebody builds something there. But it was very important for us also, just from a community standpoint, to take this liability and put it in the best place that it could be. Just a few more photos, but.
Yeah, so I can jump in here. So So today the zoning is C8-2. This is an original zoning district from when the modern zoning code was written 65 years ago. And it's, as Jesse was explaining, it's commercial use only. So residential use today is not permitted by zoning. It's medical uses, retail use, vehicular use like the gas station that was there, self-storage is allowed, medical offices, there's just a lot of different kinds of commercial uses that are allowed today. This is just examples of the kinds of things that we see in CA2 districts and just showing where those districts are mapped in Brooklyn, and there's some other CA2 also in this community board district.
Yeah, and I think also it's just showing that here on Eastern Parkway, the C82 is a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah,
And antiquated for something that really is a residential street with some commercial, but having a gas station, or this is Empire Boulevard, which is a similar zoning, which has really popped up a lot of self-storage and commercial, but in our opinion, the character has suffered from being zoned C82.
Yeah, so we propose to rezone the residential zoning district from R9A, mapped, that zoning district has been mapped other places in Brooklyn, it's been mapped along Atlantic Avenue, it's been mapped along Fort Avenue, kind of other wide streets with a lot of transit access.
So this is the existing site on Eastern Parkway. So the site is 192 by 100, but there is a required 30-foot setback, which you see on Eastern Parkway as a result of the administrative code. So this site really effectively is the 100 by 162. You can see that that creates this 270-foot effective width, which is really in line with the widest street in Brooklyn, and then you have a 210 for Eastern Parkway, and then if you look across at a diagonal, you have this 300-foot dimension. So, and one of the characteristics of Eastern Parkway that is unique and a little confusing is that when you get to the intersections, there's these lovely promenade walks under the canopy, and then you get to the intersections, and the intersections are quite wide. They're a much different scale when you get to those intersections. So Bedford is an 80-foot street and Union is 70-foot street. So we're proposing R9A for the site. This is the building mast on site. This massing in R9A is generating approximately 254 total residential apartments, and which would be 177 market rate and 77 MIH units. So this would be an MIH rezoning, along with retail at the base along Bedford and at the corner of Eastern Parkway and Bedford, and then a little bit back on Union and Bedford.
And just to be clear, in the numbers of apartments that we're proposing, it's based on a percentage and a formula, which is we propose to build that 30% of the residential apartment, the residential space, should be permanently affordable. The MIH law, the rule that says that if you're rezoning to residential in New York City, you are mandatory, you shall include affordable housing, requires 25%, and we are prepared to exceed that reasonably.
Which option?
Which option? So it's, I don't have the exact option yet because there are certain formulas that still need to be determined and discussed.
Okay.
But if you look up the options, and there are options within this, is 30% affordable housing. Not 25.
Option
And that
1,
is-
2, or 3.
So
I think they're asking about the AMI levels. Is there
The
question?
AMI level at 30% is 80% AMI, correct?
So the MIH option for 25% is 60, and 30 it's 80, right? And we're proposing 30% of the units to be permanently affordable.
Okay. This is quickly, this is just looking at the benefit of cleaning up this street, this entry garden, both on the commercial side, and we definitely want to have the residential entry on Eastern Parkway to preserve some of that residential character, and then just cleaning up these sidewalks, bringing back the bike lane. There were some comments about making sure that we had lighting on the building for safe sidewalks. So Avery Hall both does the architecture and development, so we do architecture in-house. We were looking at this neighborhood, some of the context, character, primarily brick. There's a range of architecture that exists, but primarily brick with some limestone precast accents and some more unique delight expressions. And then looking west on Eastern Parkway at the building mast on site. And then looking at that front entry garden with a residential entrance and some commercial wrapping the corner with brick and precast limestone. And then looking at the project from Union and Bedford, stepping down towards Union Street, towards the adjacent properties, and then looking down on Union towards Bedford. That's the presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just kick it off by asking if you can address how your presentation aligns with Community District 9's zoning principles, which we first passed in June of 2024, and we updated them in 2025. And specifically, I'll read from this. Height limits should be calibrated to the context of the community. For blocks characterized by a consistent streetscape and similar height buildings, this means infill buildings should be the same height. So for example, along Eastern Parkway, I'm sure you're very familiar, the buildings are consistent, 6 stories, maybe a couple or 4. How does this 14-story building fit in with that framework?
Well, I would say that this project does take into context the other taller buildings that are in the vicinity. It does try to respect the residential character of the adjacent buildings. I would note that the maximum building height along Eastern Parkway is actually 95 feet, and the current CA2 zoning doesn't have a maximum building height. You're allowed to build quite a slim, tall medical office tower under sky exposure plan regulations. We're proposing a maximum height limit here of 185 feet.
Which is double the existing height limit, as you say.
No,
No,
it's not.
no, it's double.
No, because we're zone CA2.
Right, it's double the height limit of the adjacent, but I do think,
We could go back to the zoning page to maybe show
Sure.
that, because it's a great point. Here's a page for the zoning map.
but one of the features that's very unique about this site is its adjacency to Eastern Parkway and to this very wide intersection on Eastern Parkway. So even at 185 feet, we're not reaching the height of the width
Okay,
of
but
the
it doesn't
intersection.
speak to the consistent streetscape for infill housing, which we've asked developers to consider.
Okay.
Understood, yeah. I mean, a big portion of this, of course, is this site, which is currently vacant and needs to become something, is from a residential development standpoint, we need a viable, healthy development. And there is a certain amount of density that's required for that. That also brings more affordable housing, which I know is also in there. And so those components we think will greatly benefit the community, but we understand that component.
So the second part of this that's very important is zoning in Community District 9 should encourage preservation and productive use of existing housing and businesses rather than redevelopment, long-term warehousing of spaces, land speculation is something that we're concerned about. And looking around at the surrounding zoning, we do have much lower zoning context, including have an R7 MIH zone at the Bedford Union Armory. There's an R7D inclusionary housing just across Eastern Parkway. And the rest of Eastern Parkway surrounding this is R6A and R6B. So I guess my question would be, how, does this address our concerns about such a large increase in zoning from a 2 FAR to a 9 FAR? You're asking for 4 times what could originally be built at this site. Is that something that is going to encourage speculation in the area, including on other sites?
I think, so we view this as in a couple of different ways. One, it's a transit-oriented development. We're on the same block as Express Train Service Manhattan.
But that's not
Projects.
relevant to the issue of land speculation because of enormous upzonings. And we've seen this specifically on other sites in the area where developers bought a site, got an enormous upzoning from, the city, and subsequently flipped it and pocketed $20 million.
And the new design is nothing compared to what.
Well, it's hard for us to speak too much about what other developers have done
But it's a similar situation, it's a similar upzoning.
So we look at our, track record of acquiring projects, and I think you would see in our track record, right, you don't look into us or look into our reputation, is that what we do is acquire sites and develop them and deliver housing, right? And so I think that our track record is good. It
Do you
speaks to
have,
itself.
do you have in your repertoire of pre-bills already a example under your belt that you could pit to us that speaks to both
Sure.
concerns?
Sure.
So that we have something to go on?
Sure.
Awesome.
Maybe go back to the early page, like it shows some of our projects. It could be
So 499 President, we saw it.
And then I did want to also just address that you said quadruple the zoning, which I totally understood, and you're right, the FAR is 2 for commercial use, but you are permitted to also build community facilities today to 4.8 FAR. And without a height limit, it's just a sky exposure plane, and so, I just, we are not asking to double the permitted
Well,
density.
it's still doubled from a 4.
Oh, sorry, we're not asking to quadruple it, yeah, correct, it's less than double. Just, so for these projects, just as an example, I'll take these projects because these are probably a little bit closer anomalies. These are all located in the Gowanus area, and we were acquiring these parcels from 2018 to 2019 is when we acquired the first pieces of these. We added small pieces over time just to round them out, but that's when we kind of made our big bet. If you're talking about land speculation, right? And we did take a bet because we did not know if Gowanus was going to get rezoned or not. We could not have predicted COVID and all the things that happened from it. And we acquired these projects before COVID, and then we carried them and held them through the rezoning, which was a difficult, complicated rezoning. It was a city-led rezoning, but a rezoning and everything that comes with a rezoning process. And when the rezoning went through, we could have flipped and sold these, and instead we stuck around and put in 5 more years of work to develop 680 units of housing, including 25% of them permanently affordable. And we're also the managing and leasing agent of these buildings, and we intend to hold these for years and years. So it's at least putting your money where your mouth is from our track record today, is all of these projects we bought before the rezoning, developed it and held them. This building in downtown Brooklyn is called One Warren Place. We acquired it in 2016. We started construction in 2019. We got frozen in COVID in 2027 and decided it was.
21.
What did I say?
Frozen in
27.
2020, excuse me.
We're not by 2027 yet, give us a
Sorry. Excuse me, we were frozen in 2020, pardon my misspeak, by COVID. When we resumed construction, while it was planned as a condominium project, we, for many reasons, decided to make it into a rental development project, even after we had topped it out, and we reconfigured it, and that is now a mixed income rental building where 30% of the apartments are affordable at middle income AMIs, right? Not the AMIs that we developed in Brooklyn or are planning here, but there's a need for that too. So, I think that our track record is very good and clear about investing and developing in Brooklyn and developing high quality buildings and operating them, and I think delivering on the commitments we're making about we're gonna build this housing, or we're gonna make sure this commercial space is built. This is who we are. We have our reputation on the line to tell you who we are and what we're doing, and so we ask you to take that at face value and in considering this.
Thank you. Other questions?
The proposed zoning of the R9A appears to be grossly out of alignment with the neighboring zonings in the area. So if you go back to the zoning map that you showed, your R6s and you said, can you explain that? I mean, because you were saying that to have a R9A, that it would be similar to what's in the area, and I don't see any R9As for some reason.
It's true that this would be a significant increase in
It
density.
sounds out of alignment
And
with the neighboring zonings as well as out of context.
Eastern Parkway is a historic.
I don't know anything on Eastern Parkway that is, so I don't understand.
I think that we're looking at several things. We're looking at height, we're looking at density. They're related, they're not identical, right? And so for the kinds of heights that we're talking about, we do believe that there is a good amount of precedent, not terribly far away within a.
But where is it? I'm
There is
looking for
a-
Eastern
okay,
Parkway.
sorry,
and-
yeah.
I mean,
So
you're
that-
talking way out of.
Great, no problem, yeah, so we of course have been looking at mapping and thinking about this. 1101 President is 16 stories, that's about 1 block away. 2 new buildings have gone up along Franklin Avenue, around Carroll Street and around Crown Street, right? Those buildings are both 17 floors tall. And I'm focusing on, these are kind of newer buildings, right? Built in the last, let's say, decade. There's 2 buildings that were built, several decades before.
Right.
I'm not saying whether they should or should not, or the height is right or wrong, we're just saying they were built and they exist, and they are 33 and 24 stories, we're not proposing that, right?
But if you could maybe speak to the zonings of those,
That's
since,
what I was
Well, so we start by looking at height, right? Zoning changes over time, the height of the building that's built is
But
built,
the
and then
zoning,
it's there.
as you pointed out, these are new construction buildings, they were built under new zoning.
Yeah.
Could you speak to the zoning?
Sure,
For example,
these were
1101
R8X,
President.
so these were both R8X, this is R72.
Yeah, and I would note on 1101 President,
Yeah.
if you look at the net effective floor area, so that site is a unique project because it includes the armory, but if you look at just this building on its lot area, it's about 9.2 FAR. So the scale we're talking about is a little bit smaller than, slightly smaller than this.
And those buildings on Franklin Avenue were zoned a few years ago, you'll have all the records.
But if you could also go back to the
Those are,
zoning.
those are 7.2 FAR.
Okay, but if you
Just
could go back,
reference.
if you could go back to the zoning diagram, I thought that was very helpful. Yeah, right there.
That's the
Yeah.
one.
I
I'm
think
looking
that's-
for another R9A, I don't see it.
Sorry,
No,
we'll be
it's-
clear, there is not another R9A.
But you said it was in
today.
context to.
Yes, it's in context by height of building, and.
No, it's
And we also believe when we look at, other corridors, Eastern Parkway is a unique corridor, but it is very wide. It has high vehicle counts, and it
They have
has,
14-story buildings on Eastern Parkway down there?
there is 12 stories on Eastern Parkway in
I'm not
Bedford.
talking about by the library, I'm talking about.
No,
No, I mean, so Bedford, so this building, the one with,
All right, you guys are up to the
this, sorry.
This is 12 stories
Here's
across
one here.
Florida, Eastern Parkway, County Corner.
So, we understand this is taller, but, context is a relative concept.
18 stories.
18 stories.
Is any parking involved?
So we're not yet proposing parking.
We need
And, since the zoning changes under, since the zoning changes under of City of Yes, passed in the last year or so ago, parking rules have changed. So it's not required, we're not planning it necessarily.
Just because they say that they took away the parking mandate, they did say they were gonna leave it up to the discretion of the developer and also to be take into consideration the area in which they will be building. Eastern Parkway is an area where there are train stations and there are people that use parking. Do any of your other buildings have parking?
So, some of them do, some of them
And you're
don't.
not proposing for Eastern Parkway?
So, we are not yet proposing parking. It is not, our preference to build parking.
But I see you
But
spoke
we're-
about the bike lanes.
But we're
So
also,
it's-
open to hearing, in general, different people might have different concerns. Some people
And
might.
how many units that
So,
going to be?
so we're planning a little bit over 250 apartments.
And no parking?
So we are not planning parking, it is not required. But we are open to discussing.
Do you live in this neighborhood? Cause like, bring in another.
Do you live in the
units.
city?
Yes.
You live in New York City?
We're
We do.
long-time Brooklyn residents.
We're in Brooklyn.
Everyone says that when they're
We
building.
have,
Park Slope, but you're not on this side.
Benny?
But where are we?
We're
No,
Brooklyn
but-
residents.
Benny?
Yeah.
Benny?
I hope that's worth something. I shop at the farmer's market, I go to the library.
Benny,
parking
we
is
shop at the
preference.
farmer's market.
That's so important.
Question.
He's trying.
What is the minimum zoning that you need to build such a large building? Is it R9 or you can do with a lower zoning? And number two is, what's on the other side of Bedford Avenue? Is that a farm building?
So so across Bedford Avenue, it's a 3-4 story brick, it was a school use up until a few years ago. We have nothing to do with that project, so we
It's for
can't
sale.
really comment on it. Yeah.
You might buy it.
We've seen it that it's out there, and we haven't done anything with it because that's kind of someone else's.
Oh, you already know who's gonna develop it?
no.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what you were insinuating, okay.
No,
we know it's
no
there,
idea.
but
We
Okay.
know,
We have
we know
no
it's there.
association with it.
We
Guys,
know
can
it
we
was
kind of
used as
crosstalk there? Benny
Yeah.
has a question.
There is about a half a day's worth of sunlight with such a tall building. Another question is also on this EAS short form, looking, it says, there's a question, would the proposed project result in greater than 50 feet of incremental height change or substantial changes in bulk? And you answered no.
correct.
How is that possible?
So there's an image that we should show. There's an image that we should show to better explain that.
Well, that is against when we move through the planning process, they look at what would be built there if it's not rezoned, so there's a no action.
That's based on a conjecture, it's not based on fact.
It's based on a reasonable
No,
assumption
no,
about what
no,
one would
sure.
do in the, with current zoning, which is to
Reasonable
build.
assumptions, yes, we own a property, we're going to
So
build
this is the massing today.
This is current zoning.
So that's why, because we don't want you to feel in any way that we're misleading or trying to like skew the facts here about the density is 4.8, it's not 2 on the community facility. The height limit today is not a height limit. It is a height limit which is imposed by calculating a sky exposure plane, which is a different kind of zoning regime that we do not propose. We propose a contextual zoning designation, so there'd be a height cap. That's right, so there'd be a legal height cap as an A designated zoning district, whereas today, there is no height cap. It is a calculation.
That actually is a good question. What is your as-of-right scenario if you were not to be granted this rezoning at all? What do you plan to develop there?
I mean, we should go back to.
Yeah, like,
Was a gas
What if you did a hotel?
Let me, hold on.
Hotel is no longer as of right.
Yeah,
The
so,
hotel is
I mean,
also
here you go,
bankrupt, remember?
right? So this is what's permitted as of right.
So you would be willing to choose one of these?
It would be,
Well, what choice would we have? Storage unit.
it would be a combination of commercial and community facility uses to
Okay. What type
maximize.
of
Yeah, we
community
would-
facility?
We don't intend to leave it vacant for 7 years or anything,
Of course,
so.
of course. No, we
Yeah,
would fully expect that you would do something that would, be profitable.
Look, like a gym or a recreation facility would be kind of cool. You should consider that.
No,
So we, and I say that, from the conversations or thoughts
Well, I mean,
from that we've had is that like, we do think that there will be commercial use here, right? So today's zoning is a commercial district. If the zoning does not change, then we would ultimately develop a commercial building, right? So in our proposed residential building, it is residential, it's predominantly residential, but I think critically, it is not only residential. And a lot of the way the public experiences a given building walking around New York City is like you walk past the ground floor, right? And so I think that getting an active commercial use or uses in the ground floor is certainly a priority for us, but that works very well with our residential development proposal, whereas it would still be commercial, but I don't know which use or what exactly the configuration is. It's a different universe of kind of commercial users as well. Does that address?
So are
Yeah.
you considering commercial? Because I think that, I don't know the rest of the board, but I am inclined to actually leave that space as a commercial space. Because I think that this community has seen this share of buildings built in our community with plenty of promises. This building that you're proposing has 254 units and only 77 are going to be for so-called affordability. And the affordability is not really affordability when you take into account that most people in this community has an income of 40 to 60,000. And what this building does, just like many of the other buildings built here, is just promoting more gentrification in our community. And that's what we're trying to sort of get away from. If anybody's building anything, these are the aspects of consideration that they need to actually start thinking about. Because anybody building in this community is getting all kinds of perks. You're getting tax abatements, you're getting rezoning, you're getting all kinds of stuff that actually makes all of those market rates apartment make a lot of money for you guys. Yet people that are supposedly making 40, 60, $45,000 a year cannot live in that building, no matter what you call it. It doesn't really matter. And if you were telling me right now, we're willing to go deep affordability on this, I would like to hear that.
But East and Boston, they can promise whatever they want.
Well, we're not, I think we're not even in the committing or promising stage. What we're doing is on an early, meeting is what we're doing is introducing ourselves, telling you about our company, telling you about the project, what we know about the history of the site, and really to come, we're not, obligated to do this. We're doing this because we actually want to get some feedback, and that we appreciate the concept that this is a large, complicated project, and that there could be a lot of different considerations, and that some people could be a lot more focused on some things like use, commercial or residential, and other people could be more focused on if it's residential, what should the affordability levels be. Some people might be more concerned about height. So part of our goal is to hear these concerns. Parking. Sorry.
Yeah,
Parking.
exactly.
Sorry, and not to diminish any concern.
Okay, please, let me just, I wanna recognize you, Teresa, but just wait. Okay, so Teresa, and then Esteban, Max, and then if there are no more questions from the committee, and Joshua.
Okay, I just wanna make two comments. You may or may not be aware that that block on Eastern is the greenest block, and winters, and you will be providing them with plenty of shade, which won't be so good for the gardens. I noticed on the Bedford side, it's quite close to the sidewalk, and that's very unfriendly architecture, the way it's right up to the sidewalk, hostile.
Yeah, I think,
So I just, let me go on.
We're just gonna pull up the ground floor plan.
And I know, it looked very close to me, but the other thing is you may or may not be aware of this, but we've been doing studies of our, of local development, new development and housing, and we've noticed that, there's a glut of market rate housing apartments in this district. Like, a lot of the buildings from the Plex to, Loudon, all these new developments, right? They're not getting rented out. There are empty, vacant apartments. People cannot afford to live there, and they're not renting them. it's a lot. I mean, it's a
Strange.
lot of units. Why is that, you know? But the units that are affordable, just take the armory, right? That, they have some affordability there, some low affordability. Those are all full, right? The affordable units get full, but the market rate, there's a glut here. It's a big problem, and people are wandering around with tears in their eyes, wanting to stay in the neighborhood, losing their places because of the gentrification, the rising housing costs. And they want a place they can afford. And I don't see how this is gonna provide any of that, and that's what we're looking for, is we're looking for deeply affordable housing that our neighbors can afford, so people don't have to leave. You know, and I don't see, you know, with this extra height, I don't see that happening at all. I see the opposite. I see only things, I don't see any positive coming from this, you know, other than gentrification, if that's what you want, you know? So that's what we're looking for, you know, here, is we want people to stay here, we want people to live here, we want them to be able to have a place they can afford to rent, you know?
We have 22 minutes left, just to let you know.
Okay, so I'm done. I yield. Who's next?
Do you wanna?
Well, thank you for that. I think, I have a few thoughts on that. One is, you know, we look at what is now a vacant, foreclosed site, and we think, what does that thing want to be, and what can we build there? So we showed you our buildings earlier. All of our buildings are leased up, we property manage, we hold no units off market, and we rent to the market for the market rate. That's what we're doing. We have a range of affordable units. Those all also get leased up, and that's, as I'm sure you're all aware, that's through a lottery and through the, you know, the city oversees that process. So those are all get leased up. I'm not aware of units that are not being leased, especially market rate units, and any incentive somebody would have to hold market rate units out of the rental pool. But, and maybe they are leasing a little slow because they're holding out for maybe a little higher rents, but I'll tell you, a glut of market rate rentals will eventually bring prices for those market rate down. I mean, those will end up on the market, but I understand that.
No, they're on the market, but people aren't renting them.
I don't know what to say about
Yeah.
that, you know, because we own different things in Brooklyn, and we think that there is demand for housing in Brooklyn, you know, all different kinds, and all different neighborhoods, and, you know, we look at this area, and we were, you know, earlier on talking about some of the things that are there, you know, we've got Franklin Avenue, we've got the subway, we've got Prospect Park, we've got the library.
We're
There's a lot of great
aware.
things going on.
Guys, we need to move on. Esteban?
Yeah, just, from a purely, I guess, to your point, I live across the street from both of those buildings on Franklin, and there are a lot of empty buildings. It's been up there for years already, so like, there is a lot of, I don't know if they're withholding for whatever reason, but the units are too expensive for the people that live in the neighborhood, and so they're not, even though they're overlooking the park, even though they're overlooking the botanical garden. So, in terms of like what the committee is gonna be like requiring or asking of you, it's always gonna be more affordability. I think that's like the basic thing that are, you know, standards that we set. So to say something that's gonna be similar in AMI to option one is just not gonna cut it for this neighborhood. Like, we just can't do it. Like, it's just gonna be a constant tug of war with us to do that. And that's just what we have to do, because that's what that's what the situation requires. Also, was a little bit concerned about like the way that this is presented is that this is gonna help address the safety issues with like the bike lane and all that stuff. You've owned the site since August and nothing has been done there to address those things. Is there anything that can be done in the meantime to address those things, just in the meantime, so that we're not feeling like we're being sort of wrangled out of like basic safety?
Yeah, so one of the issues right now is that many of those things need to be addressed with a building permit. There are some real old violations from the foreclosure that we are looking to solve, and they are deeply mired in abyss of multiple agencies. We did put up new fence, safety and everything off. We have someone who comes out and pulls the guards, the Jersey barriers back to try to open that sidewalk, but even when we come here, I see trash bags on the site, I see things. We have someone who cleans it up, but it is a very annoying situation right now. We would love to open the sidewalk, push everything back. We also, if you actually look inside of that fence, it's demoed and there's a 20-foot space between the foundation and where they did their supportive excavation piles. So it is not so easy to just resolve, but we are working on it now. But the fastest way will be to move towards a building permit.
Max and then Joshua.
Yeah, I think this ditch is really important for community character. It's kind of disturbing you're getting rid of this ditch. It's really improving the community. No, I'm just fucking kidding. No, in all seriousness, I think it's really exciting that we have the opportunity to revitalize this kind of derelict site. And I was wondering if you could discuss the community benefits with the spot rezonings that you showed. I know that 2 of them you said were subject to the Guanas rezoning, and then 2 of them were spot rezonings. So I'm curious what those benefits were.
None of those were spot
not-
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah, sorry, we have not done a spot rezoning.
Got it.
We have gone through the Gowanus rezoning
Cool.
for several projects, but no spots.
Yeah, just want to plus a lot of the comments around deep affordability. Option 1 of MIH is not exactly, I think, people's vision for affordability in this community. Generally, I'm supportive of more housing than need to sort of meet the needs of that crisis that we're facing. I also hear people's concerns that this is something that really feels excessively large for, what's typically in the neighborhood. So if you could just sort of, help us understand why the scale that you're proposing is necessary from your view. And then my second question is, and thank you for coming at this early step,
Very much so.
where it's not required. The question is, where are you in the process?
Sure. In terms of where we are with the process, we are not in ULURP yet, but we have an application with what you're looking at now with city planning, and we are working on an EAS right now, so working for the environmental statement, and then we are meeting with the community board now and getting some feedback from all of you. In terms of scale, the scale's complicated. It is one
Show
of
us the
the.
map. Try us.
Right.
We'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'll talk through it a little bit. So, one of the huge challenges in New York City to building housing is cost, as always. Nobody wants to hear a developer get up here and say it's expensive, but there's huge risk. It takes an enormous amount of cost to get housing built. And despite the tax abatements that are required, building 77 units, which maybe folks don't feel like is enough, that's a lot of affordable housing that we do not make money on that housing. It's the opposite. So we really appreciate developing viable, healthy projects, healthy retail to keep neighborhoods vibrant and healthy. And we property manage as well at a very high level, meaning we really care about these projects. We want them to work. It is very hard to make them work without density, and that is the thrust of all of this.
That's the reality of the
Yeah.
New York residential development math.
Abigail, Mark, did you have a question?
Go ahead.
Or Abigail?
Hi, I wanted to know how your project compares to VFC Partners, the ARC which is a block away. It's literally on the other side, so it's on Rogers and President. I didn't really see the arc, but there was a community benefit attached to the arc, which really caused or is why we have the development of the former armory, which is now Major Owens Health and Wellness Community Center. So I actually asked them about purchasing that spot and they said they wouldn't touch it. So I'm wondering what's really going on with that spot that no one else, I even went to the city council member and they said government doesn't work that fast. So what enticed you about this community? Is it the profit? Because it seemed like other developers in this neighborhood wouldn't touch that site. So what is it about?
It was a very hairy acquisition they did not, on multiple levels, did not allow for residential. And I think nobody else, rezoning a site is very risky. We're here, people want many things. We're here to have those conversations and to look at what we could possibly do. But well played. And so we're here to look at that. But I think many other developers do not like that risk of buying this site and trying to get it rezoned with a fallback that is a commercial that is, it's not ideal for us. So I think that that's a big part of why that site, others were not interested in the site so much. What was it? Did you have a?
The arch, how does
Oh,
this
the arch.
development site compare to the arch, which is
The
one
arch.
block away?
That's
Is that 1101 President Street?
Yes.
Is that 1101 President?
It's President by Rogers.
Yeah, President by
It's a little
Rogers.
different
Yeah.
because of the armory attachment. You know, you guys aren't giving any community benefit.
Right,
That gave a huge community benefit.
that's right.
That's the only way he was able, they were able to purchase.
That's how they got
BFC
away
Partners
with it.
only got it.
Yeah, I think that was, they were buying that
Yeah.
perhaps from a New York City, like from a public
We know.
agency, right? So it's a bit of a different circumstance because
completely
we
different.
bought, private land, with private.
It was auction.
It was an auction, we bought it at the fair price, it was, but it was.
What did you pay for it?
It's listed in public records, so.
I saw $10.5 million. Oh, what, okay.
That was a
Alright.
6-3 bankruptcy proceeding, right?
Say again?
That was a 363 bankruptcy proceeding,
I
right?
cannot quote chapter and verse on the nature of the bankruptcy proceeding,
Well,
but it was a bankruptcy
The point
that
is
had
that,
followed a
I
foreclosure.
mean, you're well aware that a 363 bankruptcy proceeding makes all that stuff that happened in the past not an issue, right?
Oh, we're very well aware of that, which is that we have the developer didn't pay contractors, did all kinds of, didn't pay the
We
lenders.
we saw.
And so there were lots and lots of claims against the property. So one of the things that we had to kind of sort through is how could we actually clear a title and have a path to do something with the property, because maybe that's why it's stuck, is because everyone's suing each other, and so that's all wiped out.
Okay, yeah,
But-
that's,
But that does not change the history of the property, which
Right.
was whatever was done, we inherit now this vacant foundation and all of these things.
But even the bankruptcy is supposed to wipe out everything, but when you actually get, we have violations.
We wish it wiped out the violation.
But it doesn't,
Wipe out.
when you go to somebody at DOB and you say, they're wiped out, they say,
I don't see it.
what are you talking about?
Here it is, still on the
Yeah,
record.
it's still here, so we've been working through that as well.
And in terms of, for this location, we think this is a great neighborhood and that it's appropriate for there to be housing. And we have seen that other developers have rezoned and had some success or not success and made better proposals and, worse proposals and a lot worse proposals. But just because other developers did what they did, we still believe in Brooklyn and lots of neighborhoods in Brooklyn, and it just made too much sense to be housing. So for that reason, we were willing to take the risk, and we were willing to do it because we knew that we could bet our reputation on being able to propose a good, productive project, and that we could then execute it with that confidence.
Question
You
of
have 8
Mr.
minutes.
Motion.
You have 8 minutes.
I want to raise a point that's out of the scope, but I own a house. I live alone with my wife. I have 10 children. I want to build a couple floors on my house, so my children could live with me and help me and support me, and together we could live. So to build another 200 floors over 200 apartments, give us permission to build another 200 houses, another 2 floors on every house. Why do they get 200 apartments? I wanna build two floors on my house. What is this whole, they come in, they build 200 apartments with 1,000 people. The whole neighborhood, we'd all love to build floors on our houses, so we could live.
That's definitely something we should discuss.
And that would actually stay in the aligned that you were referring to.
I just wanna say,
We don't have money to apply for it, but we want it. And the moment you give us permission, we'll build 500 houses, we'll build 2 floors on the houses. I need my children to live with me.
I definitely hear you, and that's something we should discuss.
I just wanna say it like this, we definitely don't want that lot empty. We all live in this neighborhood, we've watched it be empty for a very long time. I actually walked about a year ago, I go walking on Eastern Parkway, there was a shootout there. We want something there. We understand you're not here to lose money. We understand that also. And we also understand that we have people that need to live places, and when a development comes and says, oh yeah, you know, we're gonna build this 250, we don't know where they're parking. That's a huge thing, okay? And like, it's gonna be fair market, and like, fair market in our neighborhood became insane, let's be honest. I have 6 kids, they can't afford to live here. So, we wanna know, give us something that makes sense, that could negotiate, that you guys can make money and we could, you know what I mean? What you're coming with is so like out of bounds of what we can even think about. You know, give us something, you say, okay, listen, we'll listen, you know what I mean? Come back, you hear what we're saying, and like, we're not looking for you, we know you're in a business, you know, it's like, I'm in another committee, they come in, they wanna, let's say, get liquor license, and they tell us, okay, this is how we're making our money. We don't want them to lose money, we understand that, we don't want that lot empty. But what you're saying is so out of bounds of anything that we're like, of all the things that are important to us, nothing's checking the box. You know what I'm saying?
I think what we wanted to do here is to hear what those priorities are, and we acknowledge
That
that
is
some of
appreciated.
those priorities are probably in tension with some of the other priorities, but that we're not gonna solve it all in one day, but that it's important for us, you know, as the owners of the land, and then hopefully the developers of the building that we're proposing, to hear what those priorities are. Because I think what you're not hearing us is scream lines in the sand and say, this is exactly what it's gonna be and it's done and whatever. What we're saying is, this is what we're proposing, we're telling you how important the density is to us to make sense for the project. But that, you know, we're open to talking about parking, we're open to hearing about AMI levels, right? And so there's things that we can continue to discuss, or what the commercial spaces should be, and that for us, we don't know what one priority is versus another still, and we're trying to balance them, so.
My son lives with 8 children in 2-bedroom apartments. They can't live over here. We should be able to build on every house.
Unless they're building the extension, I don't think they can help.
1-bedroom apartments for.
We have 4 minutes, we have 4 minutes,
Organizing it.
If there's time, I wanted to just keep a couple of things in terms of framing. As we know, you know, these gentlemen have souls, they have their residents, their people, they have kids as well as yours. And we are a community, we're not a silo, right? Which is why the population of the city unanimously voted in a mayor to change that frame of thinking so that all the districts do not just silo into what their particular needs are, because people move, people flow. I understand that your needs are not going to always address with mine. I am a 55-year-old artist. I've lived in every single neighborhood and been pushed out of each neighborhood as we go along, because that's what we do. I have to go where I can afford until somebody builds up everything, a Starbucks pops up, and then I gotta move somewhere else. So I'm only going through this to say this because I have a unique perspective as a resident, 25 years in CB9, and I want to use that to just keep the framing from either attacking or defending, but understanding that there's a fluidity to the way people move. We're not adding more bricks and to the water on either side. The land is what it is, right? This is Hong Kong. It's not getting any bigger. So how do we preserve some of the things that I've heard? I had no idea until today that parking was such a big deal in this community. I have a Brompton that I've had for the last 15 years that I bike all over this city and many countries. Okay, that is not necessarily that is not said to be a determinant for someone else. But I understand that for me, a bike lane is extremely important over a vehicle for many conservation and environmental reasons. That's just me personally, and I will continue to fight for those things, as everyone else does. So my proposal to you gentlemen, in the last few minutes we had, a lot of your buildings are in the Gowanus area. I am part of the pioneer commercial building out of the Gowanus 15 years ago with Threes Brewing on Douglas. I've seen it before and I've seen what it is now. How can you guys use the triggering that you very clearly have witnessed in this room today about affordability and displacement? This is not an apples to apples comparison. Gowanus is a really poor example to use because you were not displacing a high population of residents. There weren't really residents there to begin with. So you brought in something and made it what it is today, and I congratulate the developers who did that. That is not the conditions of this district. How do you approach, given what you've heard tonight, how do you, aside from making money, which we're all in business, we all have bills to pay, how do you feel, to the gentleman over here at the end, to his point, how do you feel that what we're looking to hear is how can this benefit in our community without us having to feel to be threatened or to feel that in your moving forward, we are moving out, because we're not moving out.
That was a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was.
But I want to give you the opportunity because, like you said, you're not obligated to be here, and I joined this committee so that my board, to have a better relationship with not just my community members, but the businesses, commercials, and development that's coming in here. I don't want to have an adversarial, you're not the enemy, we're not the defendant, but you've heard us tonight, loud and clear, where we're coming from. This is a dense, old residential neighborhood. This is not anything like the Gowanus. How are you speaking to this community? Correct.
Yeah, I mean, first, thank you for everything you said there, and thank you also for highlighting the diversity of views and priorities between everyone here. This is a different neighborhood, to be honest. This has an existing, established residential character.
Correct.
Frankly, that is part of our argument for why we think that residential does make sense. It is contextual. We could discuss the heights and densities and things, but that the residential use is contextual and makes sense here. In Gowanus, most of it was not, right? And
Correct.
a lot of it was either like a parking lot or a warehouse or other things, right?
Mechanics.
And when we look at this property, because we're not buying up blocks and we're not, like, we bought a single parcel, a single 19,000 foot, property, and the context of that property is there's no displacement. It's the opposite of displacing something that was good and productive there just for the purposes of making a profit. What's there is pretty bad in terms of the existing conditions and how it's been left and what it means for it to be festering and not doing anything productive or positive in the neighborhood. So I think one of the reasons that we also took interest in this project is we're like, man, this is really a messed up site. Like, someone's got to figure this out. And is that we felt confident and we feel good making our proposal to you is that we're displacing an abandoned, festering hole in the ground. And so, and with housing, including permanently affordable housing and market rate. And so, different kinds. And so we feel proud about that, and we acknowledge that there's these tensions and that they're serious and they're systemic in New York City and the country. But, you know, there's only so much we can do. We did buy this land parcel. We think that there's a lot of valor and positivity in what we're proposing in general, but also recognize there's a lot of real issues that people have brought up tonight, you know, that are on their minds. But, you know, we don't look at it as displacement.
Well, this displacement will not be from the site, the displacement will be from the residents around the area that will be affected
Correct.
from the building that you built.
The
So
residents
it's not
in
the
the houses
displacement of the ditch, as Matt said.
Yeah.
It's just the area and the people in the area around it, what
Residents
this
in the
building will
area.
bring in cause, that's the displacement.
Yeah.
So, but we did run out of time, I don't know.
Yeah, do we have any last, community
I have a
questions?
quick question. I have a quick question. So the proposed zoning is a R9A.
Correct.
And we understand you gotta do that to make money. Everybody wants to make money, right? My question is, it's so grossly out of context with any and everything. I'm concerned about the residents in the immediate vicinity. They've got this 14-story, is that correct? 15? And you'll probably get a variance, so you can go 18 or 20. But, the bottom line, R9A is really grossly out of alignment with everything in that area. So what is your ulterior plan? Or did you just come here and just say, okay, R9A and that's it? Give us some other thoughts on what you guys are thinking, because we know the R9A gets you the biggest bang for your buck. You don't have to be a rocket scientist for that, not with 254 apartments. That's a big bang for your buck. So what else would you consider?
So,
Can't they come back with that?
Yeah.
Come back
Okay.
the other day, and
But did you even, my question is, did you even consider anything else, or did you just say, well, R9A all the way and that's it?
yeah, we
Is
have,
it just a
Okay.
negotiating tactic?
I think, actually, you should say you came here to present what you're considering for this project, to get feedback from the community.
I think
We've heard
we've
what
said
you
that.
got, absolutely,
Yeah, you said that.
and this is the
Okay.
proposal.
Take it or leave it.
Just a
No,
very.
that's change.
That's not what they say.
That's
I
not
don't
what
think we
they
said
said.
take it or leave it.
You
We
didn't
said we
hear
wanted to
me
hear
say
the
that.
priorities.
Yeah, you didn't hear me.
And that we
We appreciate
acknowledge,
that.
we acknowledge that the priorities would probably be wide,
Yeah.
and so that, you know.
Yeah, so we appreciate it.
Just a parting thought, since you are in the process of doing your EAS, are you looking at the shadows on the Eastern Parkway Mall? Because that is a scenic landmark, it's a protected green space and recreation space where, you know, people come to enjoy the open space, they like to have sunlight there, so you are looking at.
We are
that's a
studying
required
that.
study. Yeah,
My guess is
yeah.
anything taller than 6 stories will completely shadow the middle of the mall, even with the setback, that's my concern.
The preliminary results of our analysis are that relative to what we could do as a right with the sky exposure plan, the impacts are negligible, given the way the shadows move across the area during the day. There will be more shadows than there are today, but there would be with an as-of-right development as well, but that will be studied and that'll be a public environmental.
And also, I know like the shadowing of adjacent buildings, like for example, the Eastern Parkway and Union Street apartment buildings is something that's important to us, because we've found that is actually something with past developments that has ended up displacing residents, right? And
Yes.
Displacing the gardeners there, you know.
Thank you very much for your
Oh, thank you.
time this evening.
Thank you all for really appreciate it.
Getting it, like this kind of like.
Have you guys sent this presentation to the board, so the members and then the board can see it as well?
Yes.
How about they have someone from ULURP on the development?
I think that would be
Yeah, it was an accident.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Looks good.
We are going, thank you. We're gonna very quickly approve the minutes. Does anyone have any comments? Any comments, committee members on the minutes? So can I get a motion to approve the January minutes?
We'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll be
you.
here.
Yes, please do come back. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the January minutes?
Motion to approve January.
Thank you, Joshua. Can I get a second? Thank you, Michael, for coming.
Thank you.
Hector?
One second.
Okay, any objections? Can we approve by common consent the January minutes?
Yes.
Okay, February minutes. Any comments, corrections? Can I get a motion to approve the February minutes?
Motion to approve.
From Max, thank you, second. Okay, second from Joshua. Can we approve the February minutes by common consent? Are there any objections? You should abstain because you weren't. Okay, okay. And Cheryl should abstain. Just, can you come up a little bit closer to the front row?
Me?
Yeah, yeah. So the next thing, that's excellent, we're done with the minutes, February minutes are approved, January minutes are approved. So next item of business. Next item of business is just committee updates. I'll give, let's say 10 minutes for this. So I thought maybe we could go around, the district by quadrant and just ask who has updates about things that they're working on, things that they've heard about. So let's start with the northwest quadrant, since we just heard a big development there. What's going on there? People in northwest Crown Heights, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
That concerns this committee, nothing that I
Okay.
can think of.
Nicola, do you want to update on the 7399 Empire lawsuit?
7399, the lawsuit continues. The next date is next Wednesday, the 18th. Right now, there's still a temporary restraining order in effect that prevents further construction. The main thing that it started out as, you need to do a proper environmental impact. Now, after further research, we see that it is a toxic site. They were supposed to be part of the brownfield program, which would require cleanup. In filling out the forms, it's like the city assumed that, they're part of the cleanup, so there won't be, they didn't consider it like a toxic site because they assumed that it would be cleaned up, and it has not been cleaned up. And they've been skirting around actually performing the task. The previous owner had it, sat on it for years, didn't do anything, sold it, got a $27 million profit. And the new owners are saying that they're gonna clean it up, but they hadn't really started much cleanup until we've been talking to them. So with this whole snow, the toxic.
Is that $7.99?
$73.99, right on
Oh,
McKeever
$73.99.
and Empire, right across the street from McDonald's.
Oh, okay.
It's that block.
It's right before Flatbush.
No, it's between
Empire
and Bedford, and it's between Bedford, it's that little side street.
And
McKeever.
So it's McKeever's that side street.
And
next to
Empire and
McDonald's.
Sullivan Place.
Across from West.
So it's between Flatbush, Flatbush, then you have McKeever next to
Washington.
Washington, right,
And
Washington.
then after is
McKeever.
that's where the McDonald's.
It's a very short street.
The little short street
Across the
next to
street from the best, from the Western Beef.
Western Beef.
Yeah.
Across
The
from
Western Beef
Just that,
supermarket.
and then that little one block, right there. So
It's all
that-
fenced up.
So one
right?
side, the Empire side is commercial, the Sullivan side is residential for that lot. For you to know the zoning there.
But it's actually a C something zoning.
It's the same as C2
Yeah.
on Empire, but then it's an R6 on Sullivan.
Okay, all right, thank you
Okay,
guys.
so we continue.
Anything else from the northwest part of the district, land use wise?
I could say, I went over and checked out Franklin, cause I heard from police that something was happening, and I noticed they had a excavator and a lot of dumpsters inside of that lot. on Franklin next to the Spice Factory, and there was no permit or anything, and it was really dusty. Like they were.
This is the one that was recently rezoned.
It's the one right
Or
next
the
to.
condo one. Is it the condo one or the one that was recently rezoned?
It's neither. It's the lot that just nothing's
It's
in
the
it.
empty lot next to the building that is.
Next to the Spice Factory. I
opening
think
up soon.
it's might be near behind where Felice lives. You know, she told me about it. I went over there and looked, and there's no permit. It's right across the street from the school. You know, because all these kids were coming out when I went over there, and it was really dusty because they
Yes.
weren't doing it at the time, but you could tell they'd been tearing up the vegetation or whatever there, and they brought an excavator on the site, and all the dumpsters were there.
So you called it in then?
I took pictures and I called the office, and Mia said she was gonna call DOB because it seemed to me like a similar situation to what went down on the 7399 Empire, where they don't have the proper, you know, they're not taking the proper precautions for the safety of the community
Well, if
with
they have no
air.
permits, they shouldn't be building anything.
I don't see any permits for demolition, nothing, you know, so I don't know, I'm not even sure that, they didn't have there was nothing to indicate even the address of that site, for sure. So
one thing I actually did want to tell you guys is the site that was rezoned, the 962-972 Franklin Avenue. As part of the rezoning, there were a lot of conditions in a restrictive declaration.
is that the same place?
I don't know, because I didn't walk by, I don't know which site you're talking
It's
about.
the lot right next to the Spice Factory.
I
think it's part of the same zoning.
She doesn't know what Spice Factory
It's the same zoning.
Okay, so in that
Okay,
case,
it's the
what's
same
going
place.
on there,
Thank you.
so in addition to whatever the zoning change was to, you know, upzone it to build more, and then they did the solar plane as well, you guys may remember, they had to do like a slope back to protect the gardens, but there were a bunch of other conditions too. For example, they had to, provide, like storm windows for buildings adjacent to the construction to protect them from construction noise. And they also had to do like several types of renovation and upgrades to Jackie Robinson Playground. And as part of that, they have to go through the Public Design Commission and they have to come to the Community Board, so that's Parks Committee, keep an eye out for that. And all of these, and they have to make a $500,000 payment to the Botanic Gardens. So all of these things are part of a restrictive declaration on the site, and they have to prove that they've done that before they can get a permit. So that may be why they're attempting to not get a permit, because they haven't done, as far as I can tell, they haven't done any of these things. They certainly haven't come to the community board to do anything about Jackie Robinson Playground. Well, because you guys, you remember that as part of the hearings on this site, people were complaining that it was going to shadow Jackie Robinson Playground. And so they wanted part of the mitigation was upgraded lighting and benches, and I think they threw in some other things, and so that's what it is. Okay, northeast section of Crown Heights.
Cheryl?
Anything going on?
You want Benny
Just,
first?
I'm more northwest. Just one other thing, Suki,
Yes.
in my neck of the wood. There is a building across the street from 111 Montgomery.
Okay.
That building, I called 311 because they have no permits for demolition in there. They clean out the whole place.
Right.
They're planning on developing that site, but I think I saw a big ticket on the glass outside of the building because they came and they realized that they didn't have a permit for demolition. Right across the street from 111 Montgomery.
Is this one of the Franklin Avenue buildings?
No. That is Montgomery. There is that.
Oh,
what
I
they
know,
got right in
it's
the
sort of like
middle,
a warehouse type building.
It was an
right?
office building,
Okay.
but then people moved out or somebody bought it.
Okay.
But just to report that they actually got fined because they didn't have
Good, okay.
demolition permit,
Okay.
because they've been taking stuff out of there all day long, all week long, and
And is that a residential as of right site? Are we expecting another building there?
they wanna put another building there. Rumor is that they wanna put, I think the last time I heard it was about 10 floors in that little
A residential.
residential building there. I don't see 10 floors there.
To your point about
I
more
don't see-
market rate units coming.
Yeah, I don't see 10 floors there, but yeah, that's,
What do you see? Not 10 floors of what?
I see maybe 4 or 5, not more than that.
With a variance or something.
Well, then is this in the R8A zone or the R6A zone?
I didn't check that, but I'm gonna check
yeah,
that and
check-
see
check
what
on the zoning
zoning,
and
they're
Zola.
having.
Okay, southeast section, Cheryl.
Yes, well, they are doing some serious excavating of the land.
Okay.
They're really digging
At
up.
Kingsbrook.
Yes, at Kingsbrook. They do work 7 to 3 and make sure that they don't go beyond. I reached out to Rita Joseph's office, still waiting to hear if they inquired if the city council is entitled to give us a public hearing. But I have not heard anything back yet from Rita Joseph's office, so I'm going to reach out to them again and see if we can at least hear something. But
And anything from Tish James on the impact hearing?
no,
Okay, okay.
other than the letter she sent to the community board.
Okay. So, PLG section of the district in southwest, we have a couple new committee members. Anything you guys are?
So I should backtrack to say how I got involved with the community board and what's going on in my neighborhood. I live at PLG. I live next to St. Francis of Assisi on the Strand. I don't know if you guys all know that church. And last year around September, a developer literally stopped me on the streets and said we're gonna put up a 12-story building right next to your house. And then I was like, who, what, where? And then they say oh, the church leased some of its land to us. It's 99-year lease, 13,000 square feet. It's gonna be 12 stories. And then I'm like, excuse me, this is a one-way street, residential neighborhood. We don't have anything this high, within a half-mile radius. This is insane. And didn't know what to do, so I went to the community board general meeting, spoke at the public hearing. I met Suki then. And then we've been talking, and then we tried to get the priest involved, and Father Thomas was initially very helpful and very supportive. He a meeting as well, and then he said well, we were lied to because the developer told us it was a 6-story mock-up.
Wow.
And then they use as of right to just make it up to 12 stories, and then they're well, now our hands are tied, we signed a lease, there's a lease in the contract, and there's nothing we can do, I'm just a cog in the machine. So speaking some more with Suki and others, we got a petition together. So we petitioned the entire PLG neighborhood, and we now have over 600 signatories on the petition, who is both in support for a lower building and also for contextual zoning. I know contextual zoning is something that this district have talked about for a very long time, and people have different opinions about it, but I think it is time, because there's over 600 people who are fed up with all these developers coming into their neighborhood. We have and through the canvassing of going block by block through Winthrop and Hawthorne, we see how those streets are being torn up. There are literally 2-story buildings surrounded by 6-story, 7-story, 8-story developments on both sides, and people are so fed up, and they're surrounded in shadow all the time. People, and then in our petitions, there's a comments section, and then you can leave comments, and people said things I've been here for 50+ years, come into this community, respect, how dare you come build this building, and I will just lose sunlight, this is it. And then it's really heart-wrenching, and we really feel for them. So we sent the petition to Councilmember Joseph, to Assemblymember Cunningham, and then they have been trying to chase the church. We met with both of the representatives in December, and they've been chasing the church to come to a meeting, come to the table, and give some answers to the community. They met in February, but the church just sent some external affairs representative who knows nothing about the development whatsoever. So today I got a letter from Brian Cunningham's office, you know, sending the church and the diocese a formal letter with the headings of the office and everything, saying that basically we demand you to come to the table and hear all the questions that needs to be answered. Like, first of all, like, the biggest question is, you are a 13,000 square foot lot. This isn't R6 zoning, it is 2.43, like, you know, FAR. How are you gonna get up to 99 units and like 12 stories? You must have air rights to transfer the entire church lot of 60,000 square feet. You know, and then we're like, where are the air rights? Like, is it written in your lease? Is it like nothing has been transferred on Acris? Like, what is going on? Like, this may not even be legal. And then other people have argued that because it's in the same zoning lot, they don't need to transfer air rights because it's all the same lot. You know, and this is insane. Like, if you do not transfer air rights, how do we know it's not sold again in the future? How do you keep track of it?
Double dipping.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'm glad that you're there to advocate for the community.
And whose office was that?
Yeah, well,
Whose office was that, Amy?
Huh?
Whose office was that?
It's Council Member Joseph and Assembly Member Cunningham.
Cunningham
They're joint-
actually.
Cunningham, like a sent
Who is the office are you dealing with, for Brian's office, who's,
Jay Shell.
okay.
Yeah, and then for Rita Joseph's office, it's Brian Grady.
Where might we be able to find some information about this project? Is there? Where might we be able to find some
It's
info?
on, if you just like Google like YIMBY, like, you know, like 331 Maple Street Development, are you talking about just more information?
Yeah, like
Well, I
the
mean,
details in terms of.
Yeah, well, I have the
what's being
petition
built.
here, if you wanna just like look at the, you know, the preliminary information, if you wanna sign it, by all means, please.
Cheryl, anything going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, I reached out to, okay, I should introduce myself. I'm Cheryl Seeley. I live on Parkside Avenue. So I'm all the way almost to the end of the district. And I'm also, Parkside between Flatbush and Bedford. It actually just became, in 2022, the 4th historic district in the community. And that was a fight. But thank God,
Tell them how long it took.
we were able to landmark 38 houses.
Tell them how long it took.
It took us from 2016 until 2022. Meaning that we had to apply twice. The first time, our paperwork just disappeared. And the second time, we had to just put everything back in. We did an extreme amount of research. And then they decided that we were landmark worthy.
So you're landmark or historic?
We're
district?
landmark.
Okay.
Yeah, in 2022, December 2022.
2022.
2022.
Persistent.
That's when they got it approved.
Persistent.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it took us a long time.
Now you can't paint your house
I
with
lost
other
many
pictures
nights.
Good.
Worried. I mean, also we had, I'm not gonna say.
It's a wonder third, man.
I'm not gonna say every resident agreed,
on a block and
but in the end,
One day.
we had some issues because they wanted to,
We have that
our
on
houses were
President
built
Street.
in like
It's ridiculous.
1908. And they wanted to take, there's a new development on Clarkson, and they wanted to get they wanted to buy a house on Parkside, knock it down, and use it as a driveway to get to the development on Clarkson. And then we had a deed set. So we had to really start. However, also I'm a member of I don't know how many of you are familiar with Flexner. I'm a member, I'm on the board as well. And so Suki's been on my ass about and I've been turning her down for years. Like I can't do it. I just cannot deal with secret nine. However, it's
But
fine.
you're here.
I'm fine. But anyway, I reached out to Suki because something I allowed to happen. It was a house on Bedford Avenue between, I think, Winthrop and Parkside. It's on the eastern side. And I noticed last year when I was walking my dog that something funny was happening. All of a sudden I saw these people coming in. And then next thing you know, there were people renovating. But I did not see a permit. And believe me, I wanted beat myself up for that. So I reached out to Suki and we did some research, and it is a lot of craziness, because now even the corner store is complaining about, the cops are always thinking now they're using it as a fix. That's the correct word?
An SRO.
Yes, it's an SRO.
Yes, I know.
And the organization that runs it seems to be coming from the Bronx. You know, so I don't know what could be done now, because, you know, I don't wanna see anyone kicked out of their residence, and I don't wanna see anyone losing their job. That's the reason why I never really pushed it, because I didn't wanna see anyone lose or be arrested or anything. However, the ones who are gaining, they're not there.
No, I called them.
They're not there, you know, so.
And there's another proposed, I think, 11
Oh,
story
yeah.
development coming up around the corner.
Of course,
from you, right?
I don't know how much of you're familiar with Bedford Avenue between Parkside and Clarkson. All the stores
I
are
know that.
Yeah.
So now they're starting, from what I could see and hear, and we have to do a lot more digging, they're gonna be starting some kind of demolition, I'm pretty sure quite soon. I don't know how tall, it was,
They
they're supposed to
said
be around
11
11.
stories, that the plans are for 11 stories.
You know, but everything going from Parkside all the way down, the new development, I think they're mostly 99% of them are all condos, co-ops, and luxury rentals.
They're proposing also a 10-story at Fenimore, at,
Bedford, between
Bedford and
Fenimore and
Fenimore.
Hawthorne.
Yeah, so this is, and some of these are, they're purporting to be City of Yes developments, but we don't really know if they are. So this is another thing that you guys should remember about these UHC City of Yes developments. They have to file a restrictive declaration against the property for permanent affordable housing. Not, you know, I don't know that every developer is really gonna do that, but that is what is required before they can get a permit to build. So that's, I guess what I should, oh my god, it's 8:45. Okay, charter stuff,
How much time?
let's give this.
2 minutes.
Okay, so well, it depends what you guys have prepared or not.
I typed it out.
Who's done the reading on the affordable housing fast track? Good.
I'm ready.
Good, okay, I'm just gonna go around and like blitz suggestions.
So
How much time for this?
Let's give this 15 minutes.
So sort of along the lines of what Max has said in his comment, I wrote it out. I'm wondering if there's any, like, the affordable language is so vague. I mean, that's kind of like, I think that's on purpose, obviously, but like, there's gotta be a way to further define that, and maybe if there's not like a way to mandate deeper affordability, then we could at least do something about what they're calling affordable in this context, because from what it seems like, it's not very, like, it actually doesn't require much of, like, their definition or whatever they're using as definition is not really adequate, I guess. So but the best affordability, I think, is always that the term affordable is basically meaningless in this context. If this rule is going to benefit low-income renters at all and make a meaningful difference in the development of truly affordable housing citywide, the rule should include a clear definition of what affordable means.
So here's what I was thinking about that, because I had the same thought. I think it's a very reasonable, question to be asking. Before 485X, we had a lot of neighborhoods that did a lot of units at 100% of AMI, 130% of AMI, under the old 421A. I'm not inclined, I don't know if it's a good idea to not allow them to be counted for the past cycle. I mean, my concern is we don't wanna see any more of those units, right? But hopefully the 485X law is taking care of that, so that in future, they all have to be at 80% of AMI and higher. And then with the MIH units, like, yeah, some of them are gonna be at 130 or 115 or whatever, but the main thing, but they can't all be at that level anymore. Like, we've already changed the law, so that now the majority of them have to be lower. So like my thinking on that one is like, and then LIHTC obviously is always at 50% AMI. My thinking is like to just clarify it to say that it needs to conform with one of the municipal, state, or city affordable housing programs. Because like there's a difference between the before and the after with the tax credit, and so like I think if we, does that, do you think that works?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that would certainly at least create a standard.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that, I think that's the problem, is like the language is so
Is too
vague. It's
vague.
really vague.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want them to just make something up and say, oh, 150% of AMI is affordable.
Right.
Right.
It has to fit in with one of, you know, MIH, you
I
know,
think that's-
LIHTC.
I think that's what it's
45.
proposing, right? For,
It just doesn't define it though.
it talks about the 12 districts that haven't built any affordable housing under the
Pursuant to
city's
a regular.
MIH or the formerly DAH programs.
So then
Yeah.
maybe it's okay. So maybe it's okay.
Yeah, so I do think
Okay.
that's the definition they're using,
Yeah.
the MIH standard,
Okay.
which, you know, we all just had a whole bunch of discussion about how,
Right.
you know, that's not exactly what we think about as affordable, but that is the standard
Yeah.
that they're using, which I think would be expected because
Yeah.
that's sort of enshrined in HPD, so. While I'm speaking, I didn't have any specific recommendations. I feel like this formula as proposed makes sense. It's limited enough in terms of just sort of spelling out what the process is, and not necessarily like, blessing anything new, just
Right.
talking about a different process that it would need to go through, which was the intended impact of this measure that was passed, so, you know, to not complicate things. Okay.
Max?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the definition for affordable housing in the proposal, it's like 2 lines. It's like, become subject to a regulatory agreement or restrictive declaration. So that's anything under 421A, which was the old tax abatement or MIH, right?
So here's what, so go ahead.
No, I mean, I think this is going to be the rule ultimately. Like, I don't think there's a tremendous amount of flexibility. And speaking to those 12 districts who have not been developing any, that's the most important principle for me, I'm gonna be honest.
And the last point I would make is just like in my job in renewable energy, I do a lot of like rulemaking with new legal statutes. And I would guess there's not a lot of flexibility defining affordability with the rulemaking here.
I wanna talk to you about that actually. So here's what I had. Before adopting the proposed methodology for determining the total number of homes in each district at the start of the 5-year cycle, confirm that for each district in the city, the count generated by the proposed methodology, which starts with the census and then it's adjusted by DOB data on, you know, new buildings and demolitions and whatever, actually matches the current count of residential units in the city's Pluto database currently. Because what we found when we were looking at this with Adam is that there was a big difference between the census data on the number of housing units and the Pluto data, which comes from the city's databases. And I don't think the census data is necessarily more accurate, because it's usually based on surveys, and you know, those might have errors, they might have omissions, but the Pluto data also isn't guaranteed to be 100% accurate, because they're just looking at the official records from buildings, and you know, maybe if someone created a unit and didn't register it or whatever, but they're still living there and they have an address, and you know, the census is getting it, but Pluto is not. But anyway, like we found for our district, there was a difference of thousands of units. So, you know, even though it isn't gonna make a difference for our district, I would just like them to be aware of this issue and, you know, do their research and get it right, even if to talk to them. So the second thing, I think the term affordable housing building should include preservation units in a building where an existing regulatory agreement is expiring within the 5-year cycle, and the preservation agreement extends the period of income restriction by a minimum of 10 years. Because right now it's only counting new production, but to my way of thinking, if a unit is falling out of regulation, if it's falling out of affordability, to claw it back is just as valuable.
Yeah, that's gonna happen to Tivoli, like, they're about to run out of their
And-
regulatory agreement, so they could come up with a new 20-year, 25-year.
Yeah, yeah, and that's gonna happen apparently at One Sullivan too in a couple of years, and you know, people are worried about that. But I think that the
And
One
One Sullivan
Sullivan,
is a relatively
The
new
new
building.
building?
it was only for 15 years, it went up in 2007.
Oh.
There are 421A agreements that were for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and 25 years. Some of them are really short.
Those small buildings across from me,
That's
they're
right.
getting ready, the same thing happened to them.
Yeah. On the other hand, and you know, I'm not super knowledgeable about this type of thing, maybe some of you know more, but I think there are some preservation agreements that are only about financing for rehab of units that are still under the regulatory agreements. I wouldn't count those, only if it's like falling out of, you know, the restriction period. The second thing is I would say, it should include units that we in some way manage to make newly subject to affordable housing income restrictions with a regulatory agreement in an existing building where the unit was not subject to regulation. So this could be like, there are actually a lot of neighborhoods where you might have like a fully free market building, you know, like these smaller buildings where the economics actually works for you, you know, like a nonprofit to buy the building, make the units rent stabilized and subject to income restriction, and why can't we call those new affordable units too, right? Like to my way of thinking, those should all be counted. I mean, do I think it's gonna like scale? I don't know, but why not count that?
And then that, you know, there's like the shelters that have come up, there's quite a few, you know, and where I am anyway. You know, in the new development that's like housing and shelter, that's not that new anymore. But a lot of those aren't really counted, I think, in the data sometimes.
And then the final thing I said is, and you know, maybe I'm not really understanding the way they're doing this, but I think it should be up to the district if they want to count permitted units towards the current cycle or a future cycle when the construction is done and the units start getting marketed. But you can't double count units, right? Because like some districts like ours are gonna have way more than enough in the current cycle to stay out of the bottom 12.
Oh, you mean so counted in the future?
Right, but we may not want our permitted units to count towards the current cycle. We may wanna count them towards a future cycle when they actually come online. Cause like, for example, we have a bunch of Vital Brooklyn units now that, I mean, it's a lot, it's several hundred that are permitted, but we know they're not coming online for years. So like, we should, you know, be able to have the right to count them towards future cycles. We don't need to count them in the current cycle.
And that is,
Is that your understanding of how it works anyway?
Well, I think the challenge is who would decide what counts, right? Like, would it be the council member decides, right? Would it be the community board? So I think that's a principal challenge. And then there's a secondary issue. I think if you were to read the statute, I think it says permitted units, right? I mean, I'd have to go look again, but I think that some of this gets pretty close to not being aligned with the literal law, is my concern.
But in any case, because they can't be counted twice, right? So, like, when that unit becomes, you've got to decide when you want to count them.
Right, I think the law says when they're permitted.
But it probably, she's right, I think, it should be when they come online, because if they're permitted, they may not come at all.
We're having a discussion about what it should be, not what the law literally, I'm just saying I think that's what the law literally says.
Actually, it's not. I mean, what we passed in the ballot language was affordable housing, districts which have permitted the fewest affordable housing units. And then the law that you're talking about, that's the proposed rule, right? So that's what we're commenting on.
I think maybe take this offline, I don't think this is gonna use everyone's time to talk about.
But I don't know if
That's
you,
with
do you
everyone.
guys, so do you guys feel like we should pass a resolution as a committee with suggestions, or is everybody just gonna write in their own comments? Cause I think it's always more powerful as a committee to pass something.
Should come as a committee.
but it's up to you guys.
I would be fine passing something as a committee if we looked at what we were going to pass in writing and pass at the next meeting.
Well, it's too late because comments are due April 1st.
Well,
I wrote down questions, and I thought that
Yes,
we were going to.
yes, so can you go through them
I mean,
now?
I could, but
Just
some
read
of
them quickly.
How are you
But some
passing
of them
something when
were
half the
kinda
people didn't
answered.
read it? I'm a little confused about that. How are you passing something when half the people haven't read it?
Well,
and
read
don't
it out
know?
to us now, Cheryl.
Yeah, I can. I said, how will this change, public review and community input? How will it modify the present ULURP, review procedure? Will community boards and residents' opinion truly matter before a decision is made? If this fast track process shortens ULURP timelines, how can we know for certain that community boards will keep the same influence over land use decisions? And I said, shouldn't community boards know their community better than city planning? Since this fast track is in effect, will this allow large developers ease to bypass the ULURP? In our community, we have done our fair share of building and yet more development is still coming. Is this new fast track just another way for developers to build where they want, what they want, how they want? And as we see, they propose one thing and change it. And I said, Benny brought this up in the last meeting that, if we could be notified before the process started. So will, city planning notify CB9 on every project that qualifies for the fast track procedure before the board's review timeline begin? That way we can give some type of, we could have some type of knowledge. And just for the record, Vital Brooklyn was pushed under the rug as far as like the deed reverter and everything. This was done without public review. It wasn't publicized. It just no public knowledge, and we're finding out more information about what was done, and how it was done.
Went through in the middle of the summer.
Exactly, and no one knew about it.
One person was there, I think that was the representative of the mayor.
And no one knew, so that was just my something, but I don't know if all of it was answered in that, but I could email it to you.
Okay,
But I just read them out.
we are not allowed to vote by email. Is there anything that you guys feel like as a matter of consensus you're willing to pass now? I can pass around what I wrote here and you can tell me like if there's anything you feel
Is
like
it
you
that
would pass.
whole sheet?
It's just under the CPC fast track. I mean, maybe I should just ask, how do you guys feel about the addition of the preservation unit?
I agree with that.
I think that's well written.
Also, I agree with what Cheryl said, I think that should be part of it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think this follows what is written in the law personally, so I will not vote for this, but it sounds like you guys have a different opinion.
Okay. And
There's also the sort of like, what kinds of feedback is like technically in scope for the proposed rule and, yeah, I don't know if we have enough time to like really think about that and trying to throw together a resolution. But again, if folks wanted to try to
Okay.
put one together.
so, the stuff about the count methodology, like, that's not that important. I mean, it's just a technical point, I can just submit that on my own. What about the point about allowing districts to choose when they count a permitted unit? Like whether they choose to count it as permitted or
I think it's
when
an important point to make and to add in.
I think
It's what we write isn't gonna be any part of any law, but it is worthwhile to have it.
The challenge I have with that recommendation is that it leaves too much interpretation for different people. And something like this, I think, is intended to be more broadly applicable. And so,
I mean, what if we allow the choice to be made by, like the community board's district, like the community board's district manager can send it on to HPD, and it's ultimately HPD's final decision, right? We know that under the law, but, like they can send around to you, like, here's the list of your affordable developments permitted and started marketing already, and then you can tick off if you want the permitted units to be counted.
Yeah, I think the initial step should come from the community board, because we're the ones who know the district best. And then it can be passed on to city planning and all that, but it should really come from this place.
So are we okay with that, asking for the district manager to be the one who's, like, we're not gonna be around
I just like,
forever.
it sounds really good, but like, is this gonna make a difference? So, what, you know, if you're putting in, this is our opinion, and how does that work?
Well, that's
Also
what
at
we're,
districts-
that's what we're supposed to do, right?
Jordan and Jonah said, like, our opinions will matter because they're writing the rules.
And we're advisory, so we should let them know what we think.
I think it's better saying something than
Yeah,
nothing.
sometimes you have a gap.
Okay, so
Saying
Cheryl's
something.
language could possibly be used as a preamble, how do we feel about it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can email it to everyone.
tell them to set the stage for them.
When we put together voting items in this committee, will always, but, yeah.
Because we're trying to get too many things done in too short a time, and I hate it, and this is why I asked everybody to please put something together ahead of time, but it's just never, it's never enough. Okay, so can we
We
take
did
a
a really
formal,
good job, I
let's
think.
we did, and so let's take a formal vote on this, okay? So we're going to, as a committee, pass a resolution on the CPC fast track, containing the following items, the language that Cheryl read as a preamble, plus the language that I read about including preservation units and, letting it be the choice of the district how they count permitted units. Is that motion clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second from Teresa. I'm gonna take a vote, cause I know not everyone's agreed. So Cheryl,
Yes.
Joshua,
Respectfully, no.
Max,
Yeah, respectfully, no.
okay.
This is respectful.
I'm a yes.
Roman?
I'm a no too, because I think
Yes, Max Roll.
there's just too many pockets.
Okay. Janice,
No, need more time.
okay. Nicola,
It's just feedback, I'm fine, yes.
okay. Teresa,
Yes, it matters.
okay, so let me see, we have one.
Yes.
What about Benny?
Oh, Benny, I'm
Yes.
so sorry.
Benny's the most important person
Well,
here.
Benny, like, is sitting in the back, why
And
is Benny
Cheryl.
not sitting
And
back?
Cheryl.
So I like everybody sitting at the
I'm
table.
abstaining
Because I-
because I'm not
Cheryl voted
versed in
yes.
what's going on, so I'm
Benny's
not
voting
voting.
yes.
Cheryl's abstaining.
To what?
Okay.
Did you read
You
it?
know what, I'm a yes, cause Fred is gonna do
Why
it,
don't you
right?
read
He's
once
coming
in a
from the
while?
board, not the committee.
Ultimately, yes, ultimately this
committee
is
to
gonna,
the
this
board.
is gonna go from our committee to the full board.
Okay, I thought the committee was just gonna do it.
No, it's going from the committee to the
yeah,
full
let-
board.
yeah, let
Okay,
it come
so we
from the
have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 12.
I thought there was 8. 2?
1, oh, Cheryl,
Cheryl
okay,
abstained.
1, 2,
What about Cheryl?
Cheryl is
Celia
I'm
abstained,
abstaining.
Celia abstained, Bernard said yes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Cheryl S.
7,
8.
8. Okay, so 8 out of 12, so the motion passes. And I respect, those who voted no, or it's fine. Okay, so one
Respect the
thing
people
which
that say
I
no.
think is super important. There's another aspect to the fast track, the BSA fast track. Okay, so has anyone thought about that one? This is where a 100% affordable development that is like an HDFC, a publicly financed HDFC, instead of going through the normal ULURP process, and this has nothing to do with the 12 lowest districts, this is any HDFC development, can go to the Board of Standards and Appeals and ask, basically for rezoning, as long as HPD certifies that the development is compliant with affordable housing design standards and is necessary, and the modifications are necessary for them to build what they're gonna build. So this is actually like really an alternate track to a rezoning for a specific type of development.
Probably you'd have to put that forward, I would imagine.
Yeah, so what are HDFCs? It's actually pretty broad as I understand it. It's like a, controlled by a nonprofit corporation, and it does have to be 100% affordable, but the affordability can be anywhere from 0 to, I think, 130% AMI. It can be homeownership, it can be rentals. So, did anybody have any comments or suggestions about that?
I mean, HDFCs are good in that they're permanently affordable and they're limited equity, so you can't like make money off of it later, which tends to be the problem with you know, co-ops that are initially affordable and then not later. So I mean, I think that sounds like a good thing. You know, just in general. I mean, like the people, like I said, it's probably you have to put that forward, and they help found the tenant union, like they do organizing in local neighborhoods. But like, I'm just thinking if there's any way that could be like abused somehow, but I don't think so. And just the way that the regulations are, I don't think that there's a way to make that. I think it's okay.
Anybody else think that is?
Agree.
I think it's a
Plus.
So here's what I have to say.
Oh,
So
she's gonna
the-
read another paragraph.
Yeah, okay, so we've had some experience with the BSA right now. And one of the things that I've run into is it's very difficult to search for applications, to search for the record, right? As community boards, for the development that is in our district, at the time that it comes, we get the applicant's submission, right? But if you're looking for something that might have happened 5 years ago or in somebody else's district, you can't find it on the BSA's website. You have to FOIL them or write to them, you know, to get archive records. And so this is like, it's not easy to really understand what's going on and what their voting record is, how they vote, right? So I think that in order to improve awareness and public transparency of applications filed through BSA Fast Track, they should integrate the disclosure and filing of fast track applications with the Department of City Planning's zoning application website, right? And all applicant submissions, including environmental reviews, should be posted to the site, along with the community board determinations and the expected or required timelines for commission reviews, decisions, and public hearing dates. This is just a public information thing. The second thing is about how does HPD determine whether the building could be developed without modifying the zoning resolution? Like it basically just says a letter from HPD, but usually the BSA has very detailed criteria about these things. So, to your point about could this be abused, what I'd like to see is whether the developer has applied for and made use of all subsidies for which the development is eligible. Because when we're talking about 100% affordable developments, they almost always are getting cash subsidies, tax, abatements at various levels, etc. If such application has been rejected, then HPD and the applicant have to certify that they were not able to receive this subsidy. Because there's always like sort of a thing where if they can get subsidy, maybe they don't need a zoning modification. Maybe they're using the zoning modifications as a way to pay for, this affordable housing. Whether the need for modification arises primarily from a financial hardship that was self-created in whole or in part, including paying higher than market prices for the land, or buying a site that's excessively small compared with the intended development size, but not including the mere intent to use the site for a 100% affordable housing development. In other words, we don't want to encourage people knowing that they're able to get like any kind of rezoning possible to pay double for the land, thinking I'll get the price down and make everything work by getting, this BSA variance, right? You have to still like try to get a good deal on behalf of the public. And similarly, if you're going in knowing, okay, for this to work for me, I need to build 100 units, don't go and buy a 5,000 square foot site and then just assume I can upzone this by 4 times, so it'll work for me. Go out and look for a 20,000 square foot site, right? And then finally, if the requested modification is the minimum necessary to create the affordable housing building. And so these are all things that the BSA just very typically criteria they typically apply for other types of developments. The only thing is that the problem with BSA variances is they require a unique site condition, and they don't consider trying to do 100% affordable housing as a unique site condition. So these affordable housing buildings are kind of shut out of that process. So that's Any comments, questions?
You know, I don't think we had the opportunity to review the BSA
Yeah,
fast
I
track
didn't look-
rules.
yeah, I
They
didn't
were
look
not
at
in the email attachment.
Right.
So I appreciate the work that you put into this. So you could maybe this is best as a personal comment, because I don't think we've all had the time to familiarize ourselves with the proposed rules.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think too, they spoke at the housing meeting, I think, so we actually talked to them, right?
I don't know, I wasn't at the housing meeting.
Oh, different meeting.
I think it was I think the BSA rules were probably in the initial link that got sent out, but I know it's a lot. So that's fine, we can leave that off the table.
I think they went out like separately
They-
from the
they could
community
have. There were
board,
so many
not
emails.
attached to.
I read that, I read them all and agreed.
Okay, so, I mean, we can all submit our own testimony, that's fine.
When is this testimony due?
April 1st. What else? Okay, so our town halls, the public town.
Can I just,
Yeah.
the letter that RFP responded to about the site on Ocean and Flatbush?
Yes.
I would like for us all to see a copy of that because
Okay.
Mina read it last night at the
Okay.
housing meeting and I think it's something we should all know about.
Okay.
I asked you for
No,
a
it's
copy.
exactly what she read.
Yeah, but I
I
wanted,
wasn't at the meeting.
nobody here was there.
Okay, no, we'll send it out, so,
And Sia is also meeting with the housing committee very soon, just so you all know.
maybe next month.
Yeah, just important note.
So one of the things that we really stressed to EDC with this site was that we wanted them to give us the opportunity for a full community engagement process. And that's something that they've certainly done with other sites, like, you know, they'll do a year's worth of visioning workshops, and we got buckets. We were told at the end of the process, and then they did a 3-week RFP, and that's not right, you know, and so, but how and when are we gonna do any type of, you know, community engagement? So that's getting to the next part, which is our town halls that we were thinking about doing. Just to remind people, the discussion from 2 months ago was we wanna do one in April, possibly one in June, one in the western half of the community and one in the eastern half of the community. We wanna do a hybrid, Zoom and in person. So, you know, I think we still have a lot to discuss about what the topic of the workshop is gonna be and the schedule and everything, but we have to pass a budget so that, you know, we can get started on getting the venue and whatever else. So I'm gonna make a motion that we ask the board office for a budget of $1,500 to cover food and potentially a facilitator. You know, again, this is obviously something that we can discuss by email, who we wanna have, but I just wanna make sure that the budget is out there so that if we wanna do this, we can.
But we have to also throw in there that if the budget is not enough for a facilitator, we have to consider members of the board actually pitching in to do that.
Or if you guys know people from nonprofits who are good facilitators or willing to do that sort of thing, you know, in the people from the community who facilitate these kinds of things, we can get volunteers too.
I'd really like a walk around.
We can definitely get, you know,
As opposed, I think more people walk around. I've been to a couple of events, walk around, and I went on one with Rita Joseph and the city planners, that was amazing. I actually went on one that Anthony Gay had, and that was pretty fun. But walking around with people and talking about things helps a lot more to give understanding.
Let's think about that for the
So-
June event, because in April, sometimes the weather is still a little bit iffy.
I think a walk around event would be.
In April would be fine. But,
April is here.
yeah, that's my,
It's gonna be
concern is that, I definitely hear you in terms of, like, if we're gonna do something in April, this is the board meeting coming up in which we need a budget passed. But it does feel a little weird to ask the board for $1,500 without, like, having enough what it's for.
I mean, basically, I was thinking maybe like
Last time you
anywhere
didn't even use the budget, right? You
Yeah,
had
we just
you
give
didn't
it
use
back, it doesn't kill anyone, right?
Okay,
So
you just
like,
want availability.
I guess what I'm thinking, so here's what I'm thinking,
Better
like,
to have than have to.
yeah, anywhere between like $200 and $500 for food, water, basic supplies like printing, office supplies, whatever, and then up to $1,000 for a professional facilitator. We may not all agree on someone we like, the person may not wanna do it, they may want $5,000, whatever. There may be various reasons it doesn't work out and we won't spend the money.
And this
but
facilitator would be doing what?
to host the workshop, right? To get public engagement, whatever, like help with the
Would this be an urban
presentations.
planner?
It could be an urban planner, it could be someone from the neighborhood, who's just good at facilitating and getting people to talk about their vision and, what they wanna see for the future and what, it could, we haven't talked, the bottom line is we haven't talked about this yet, we obviously need to talk about this, but I wanna have like a placeholder in there so that in case we do want the money, we can have it.
I would think we focus on the June event. I don't know how we pull this out, get it communicated for April. April is here.
Is April a dead time, and can we push it back? Like
Yeah,
We
maybe.
can push it back to May.
Or even like late April.
Yeah, late April or May.
May would be
May
good.
be perfect.
Okay, so why don't we say a May event? Can I get a motion for a $1,500 budget to cover food, water, supplies, and a professional facilitator?
Yep.
Second from Esteban?
I don't know, I
Okay.
gotta know more about this facilitator and what they gonna be
That's true.
facilitating
Just asking for the money
before
to
I
have it
vote in
available.
favor.
Okay, can we,
Cause I saw that person that came and spoke about the charter proposals and
Brian?
yeah,
Brian was from the city council and he didn't
I
get
had
any
some
money.
notes about Brian.
Okay.
I had some notes about
Brian
Brian
who?
from the city council, so.
No, but just so you know, Brian did not get any money, he's a
No, I-
public servant.
No, I know, I'm just,
He came on behalf
I
of
think,
the
I
city
think
council.
Josh, I think it's about the perspective of Brian.
and it's.
And this is something, and this is why we're not naming anyone now, we're all gonna discuss
We're just
it
gonna
by
ask for
email.
the money
There's gonna be a
availability.
flame war.
The other
Okay,
suggestion
so-
I have is if this event is gonna be real, I think we just have to commit to an additional meeting beyond the next time we meet in a
Yeah,
month.
absolutely, absolutely.
Otherwise, it's just not
Absolutely.
happening, and the same thing is gonna happen, and we're gonna have a stacked agenda next time we meet again.
That's an excellent suggestion.
But I think it should be in May so we can have it.
Okay, so can we get a vote, do we have a consensus on this budget request?
Okay.
I agree.
Yes, yes, thank you,
Betty.
thank you everyone, I'm sorry for keeping you late again.
Yeah, you're never gonna have a
Meeting
real.
adjourned.
It's all about the money.
Yeah, this is better.
Request to adjourn. Making a motion to adjourn.
Oh, motion to adjourn.
She's still talking her paragraphs.
Whenever council staff would speak at these things,